When the Department of Housing and Urban Development launched the Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program in 2009, communities had an unparalleled opportunity to implement strategies to prevent homelessness and rapidly rehouse those already homeless. Through HPRP, they created partnerships and program models for intervening quickly with short-term financial assistance and coordinating services to improve access to community resources and supportive services for more than 1.3 million people who were helped to find or keep their housing. To present some of what the nation learned from HPRP, community leaders in Georgia, California, and Texas share their experiences in making HPRP a success. We hope to build upon this success as we all move forward to end homelessness.
Our rapid rehousing success rate is 85% housing stable. That means that people 6 months after they exited the program were still stable in their housing. We only spent, on average, $1,130 per household to keep them housed. When you compare that with roughly $50 a day in the shelter, it's a huge savings to the taxpayers. And when someone is living in a shelter, they're still homeless.
We learned so much from piloting the HPRP program, and it worked.
If you can intervene sooner than later, you save so much time and resources on the part of government, because there's a huge societal cost, and then you save so much on the side of the family.
There was a lot of skepticism about how effective rapid rehousing would be. And I think that stems from a history of taking someone from the street and putting them in an emergency shelter and believing that the next step for them would be to go into transitional housing. And when they were done with transitional housing in 2 years, that then they were finally ready for housing. And we really had to change our approach to service provision to participate in rapid rehousing. And the effects have been phenomenal.
You had to have a sense of urgency. You had to work extremely fast. You had to cut across a lot of the bureaucratic layers, because the more time you took to address it, the more unstable the family became.
David lost everything. First his job, then his home, and couldn't care for his kids.
I went from being homeless on the street and hungry to being in a home, because I got the home first.
So we sat down, we looked at his specific circumstances, and we knew the first thing we needed to do was, well, get him housed. So we got an apartment with a lease, 12-month lease. And that was able to happen within 5 days.
If it wasn't for them, my family would still probably be away from me. I'd probably still be in the street or sleeping in a car or whatever I could do.
It's so important that we get these families rehoused quickly, because it affects the kids at school. It affects their ability to stay focused.
My kids are doing good in school. They're going to school right up the street. Just like I had my problem with providing for them and struggling and everything, they had their problems as well, but they overcame it with us being stable.
Now he's got choices. So now his life becomes anything he wants it to be.
Our goal was to get people housed in 21 days. We had been housing people after 24 months, so 21 days was just a big jump for us.
So we were right in the shelters doing the assessments. We created a policy or a goal of assessing people within 72 hours of entry. Instead of working with people on maybe employment first or addiction problems first, you work with them to find housing.
We wanted a model where there would be a central point of contact where people wouldn't have to call from place to place to place in order to get service.
So we create collaborations and we create centralized processes and centralized intake system, a formalized, consistently used assessment tool.
By having that single point of entry and really keeping ourselves on a quick time clock to get service to the individuals when they needed it, We really were able to get people back into housing very, very quickly.
So it went beyond housing and keeping people stably housed. They took a holistic approach.
You know, how can we stabilize some of those other factors in your life so that you have stability in your housing, and then you can move forward and be successful and not really end up in this situation again.
Lerny, a single mother, lost her job and couldn't make ends meet.
I'm the type of person that's usually helping people. And I'm not the type that always, want my hand out for help. And it was pretty much I had to lay pride down and do what I need to do to help my family. They not only helped me with finding a place to live, my family and I, but I came in pretty much off the street with nothing.
HPRP enabled us to provide a greater amount of financial assistance per household if needed, and a longer period of case management. And then when we look to our rapid rehousing partner, at 6 months after receiving assistance, over 95% of the families they rehoused were still in stable housing. The main reasons are, one, we had enough money and we could offer enough resources per family to truly fill the financial gap that they were experiencing.
And we didn't let our hand go. We also continue to provide supportive services, checking up on her every month saying, hey, how's everything going? Is there anything else we can assist you with? And so it wasn't just the initial helping her, but we helped her throughout the process. Just keep on pushing forward and we have your back.
What was ultimately successful for us is we created a learning community of everybody that was working in the program.
We had weekly case management meetings where all of our staff would get together and talk about what the challenges were with a family, or what resource one organization may have over another to help this family get through.
We were able to argue out, to discuss, to come up with a joint decision as to what the best approach was with each case, which really made everybody feel involved and part of the process.
So that it was not a static process. It changed, but every change was documented, and we made sure that every change was implemented at every agency.
In nonprofit organizations and throughout communities, relationships and trust are what really make people work well together.
You got to collaborate, and you've got to have partnerships, and you got to work extremely hard on working together.
I think the magic in the program really is the case management piece. The clients were connected with a case manager who oversaw their case from beginning to end and helped them with figuring out what they needed to be stable.
After 2 tours in Iraq and a struggle with PTSD, Joe moved his family and brother to California and a waiting job. But an unexpected illness raised the threat of homelessness.
You're assigned a caseworker through this program for accepting assistance, and he comes by once a week to check on the place, to check on your house, to check on you, your family.
Once you build a bond with someone and provide them assistance, just that little extra help and that extra call really goes a long way to making sure somebody continues to be self-sufficient and stable in their housing. Not necessarily a handout, but a hand up.
Once I had that in my life, I was able to utilize the rest of the tools that were available that I had no idea were there.
You could really write a dictionary about here's case managers and here's landlords, and the two don't speak together very well. The landlord wants someone to pay the rent, someone to be a responsible tenant, and the case manager wants you to understand all the things that make that difficult. The rapid rehousing aspect of this program really gives us that person who's bilingual, who speaks both landlord and case manager, and can be the contact for the landlord. So if something doesn't go well, they have somebody to talk to.
Challenges working with landlords really are convincing them that this person is going to be a respectable, responsible tenant.
So we were able to negotiate and meet with some of the affordable housing to accept our people, that if we did the intake, we provided the case management services, those supportive services, that they were willing to reduce some of the eligibility requirements to get them in.
And the program actually has a case manager here on site. So it makes it much better for the tenants because they have someone that they can go to who is a neighbor. And it makes us more comfortable as the landlord because we know that there's someone there to help if the tenants run into issues.
With HPRP, we had the opportunity to really focus on our HMIS data and realize that HMIS was not our enemy. It was actually a great asset for us. It tracked all of our progress. We got to see where agencies were having struggles and where they were being successful and address those issues sooner than if we hadn't been monitoring the data so closely. It helped to really establish that we were seeing people through to successful outcomes.
Because of the data sharing, we knew that we weren't duplicating services with particular clients. We knew who had gotten services when and how to track them in their receipt of those services.
I think the lasting legacy of HPRP will be the collaboration among the agencies as well as the number of families that we were able to stably house and they are no longer on the street or at risk of homelessness.
We got the recipe right, and so why not use that same recipe with other populations? So that's what we're doing. We're doing that in our shelters, in our family shelters now, and we're also doing that as we develop more programs currently with our veterans.
And so it really requires a shifting of thought processes. It's very hard for us to think about how we do business differently, but this has really given us the launch pad to do that, and I think it needs to be taken forward into the future.